This week on Deploy on Friday, Jim and I go over the week that was, discussing a couple of articles posted by folks from Octopus Deploy. We also go into some videos that are now available of the Octopus 101 and webinars that we've done for Config as Code for Runbooks. We also cover the Octopus Insiders newsletter. All this and more coming up next on Deploy on Friday. It's Friday, which means it's time to deploy. Sorry, a little bit of a hiccup there. Back for another episode. Jim, how was your week? Hello from Australia, by the way. I'm back in country, so I'm no longer in Portugal.
How was all the trip? It looked amazing.
Yeah, it was all right. We had a good time there. We had our offsite there for the revenue and marketing teams and others as well. Got to meet a lot of folks and say hi. And it was in Lisbon, and it was kind of convenient for folks in Europe, but for folks in Australia, including myself, it's a bit of a journey to get over there. But we're back, and Jim and I are ready to talk about the news, etc. How was your week, Jim? Everything go okay?
Yeah, everything went well. Busy week. Coming towards the end of the quarter, I think we're going to start doing a little bit of testing of some of our new performance improvements next quarter.
Very nice.
So just getting
Anything
ready
you can
for that.
share?
I mean, just that we're going to slowly start rolling things, like very slowly start rolling things out
Right.
across some staff instances and things like that. That should we're not the whole point of the project we're doing is to make deployments resilient, run a lot more at the same time. But obviously we probably won't be doing that to start with. We'll just be running some. So
Okay.
I reckon next quarter look out for some graphs and stuff. I'll bring some along and show you what we're seeing. And
Awesome.
we're doing some great stuff. We've got like a really long asynchronous distributed process now for running a deployment, right? It's through event driven. We've been trying to get trace telemetry hooked up to deployments that can run for 8 hours. So, when you throw traces at a lot of the tooling that big and try and link it up, it becomes really hard to navigate. And our team's been writing all of their own custom SVG renderers for traces and stuff like that, which has been really cool.
Nice. Well, look forward to that. We'll maybe dedicate the whole episode then to that. That'll be great.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the news. Lots of news this week, mostly in the form of video and such, but this is the latest edition of the Octopus Insiders. The Codefresh Insiders. Sorry, getting my terms right. The Codefresh Insiders is basically our newsletter to get you up to speed or up to date on everything that's happening relative to Codefresh. We do publish it in LinkedIn, and so a bunch of new stuff here. So first and foremost, we have what's new in our SaaS offering of Codefresh. Specifically around GitOps. So Codefresh GitOps now uses Argo CD 2.13. This is the latest edition, obviously. And incidentally, we also have some information about Argo, which we'll talk about in a second here. It's a bit of a teaser. There you go. New settings for promotional flows give you greater control and flexibility. And then finally, we updated the releases page to give you better traceability and clarity around when those things go out. You can read all the release notes available here. Also, we have an update for on-prem version. So version 2.6 is now available, and this is available via our public repo. And the highlights, as you can see here, rather than reading them to you, you can check them out. It's available online. We also have an article that we talked about previously in a previous episode of Deploy on Friday, entitled "Securing Argo CD: Key Achievements and Innovations in 2024." And this talked about some of the stuff that we had done around Argo as a contributor. And this is what I was kind of building towards. We have a new podcast, Argo Unpacked. So this is a new podcast that's being hosted by Dan Garfield and Revital, and they are doing a podcast here. And this is available up on our YouTube channel, and it's all things Argo. So Argo Unpacked episode 1 is now available. The recording is up on our YouTube channel, and Dan and Revital talked a lot about various things, including Argo CD 2.14 and other things as well. It went a little long, so I was in the background producing it and doing all the context switching, and Dan did a 101 demo. It was all great. It just went really, really long. And so one of the pieces of advice I gave them is, you guys got to shorten it up. So it was almost 2 hours long for their first episode. So I think you and I know what this is like. You don't want to go too long, but these guys went on forever. Anyways, that's a new podcast you can check out, Argo Unpacked, which is great. As I mentioned before, Argo CD 2.14 is now available. There's also the release of the Argo CD image updater. We covered this in a previous episode of Deploy on Friday. And then this one we've highlighted as well, that we are the #1 contributors for Argo CD. So in particular, Pasha and Dan, they were number 2 and 3 in the contributor ranking. So this is our insiders newsletter. You can check it out up on LinkedIn, which is great. This is an article from Costas entitled "The Serverless Hype is Over. Now What?" So I'm sure a little bit of controversy here. Never hurt anyone. I don't know what you think about this, Jim, but serverless, the hype about it is all done. And now we're, I think Costas' main point, like, this was great for developers, and that's always a good thing to target stuff that's great for developers. But his points is that they had a lot of hype, promising scalability, lower maintenance and costs, but the reality is that with these solutions, you get basically rising costs, you get hidden complexities because a variety of reasons, and then maintaining these things is obviously a challenge. And so serverless, like all things, is not a universal solution. It works best if you're building something that's asynchronous in nature, like a Azure function or something like that. And if you have unpredictable traffic, because of its nature, it allows it to scale. So there are a lot of limitations. There's lots of things that you keep in mind, but people are tending to move away from this and more towards the embrace the mono repo, or the monolith rather. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think definitely for compute, it's proven itself to be pretty tricky, and I think probably the bigger problem with it was lack of standardization. I mean, that's pretty much where Kubernetes is taking up the slack there, right? I think there's a bunch of
Right.
interesting stuff still happening with serverless around the storage space, though, and I think a lot of great uses of serverless storage that everything from object storage through to relational and document storage that we're still going to make heavy use of.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Good point. Yep. So yeah, you can check this out. It's up on builtin.com, and not the first time that Costas has skated on the thin part of the ice, so to speak, as we say in Canada. That's okay. We need folks like Costas to kind of stir the pot. So anyways, check out the Argo Unpacked. That's the new podcast there. This is our one of our latest webinars that we ran, called "Introducing Config as Code for Runbooks." And so this was hosted by Harriet, Caitlin, and Dylan, members of the team that built out Config as Code for Runbooks. For those who don't know, Config as Code for Runbooks is essentially the ability to emit your runbook definition files out as plain text and sync them up with Git. And so this is a recording of the webinar we did, including an awesome demo that Caitlin did, showing kind of like every knob and button you can press relative to this feature, which was great. And so yeah, check it out. It's up on our YouTube channel now, and it's a feature that will slowly and surely roll out very soon for cloud customers, and then will be available very soon for on-prem customers. So there you go. Do you know about this, the webinar we did?
I didn't know about the webinar. I knew about the feature.
Yes, of course.
Looks like a great lineup there of new faces. I'm glad those guys got on to a podcast. Looks like a good
we're trying to get basically the product team involved. We want them to be the ones kind of talking this up. So awesome to see. Another boring face, which is me. So I'll try and try not to bore you here. This is our Octopus 101 series. I ran this earlier today, and then days before, and so the recordings of all this are available up online. You can check them out there. We run this monthly. Had lots of great questions. We had lots of folks in attendance, which was great to see as well. And then finally, this is an article from Steve entitled "What Organizations Get Wrong with User-Centricity." So the basic premise of this article is that Steve is advocating that user feedbacks don't equate necessarily to features, and that you got to be careful about how you take feedback from users. You should definitely use it as a signal to see whether or not you're obviously moving in the right direction. But and it's as I say here, a vital aspect of building out any product. But later on in the article, he goes on to say that user feedback does not necessarily equate features. You got to be careful of that. So don't treat your feedback as features. Thoughts on this? Would you agree? Would you disagree?
A world of pain down that path lies.
Yes. I want to be able to scale to n+1 servers, but I also want to do it with no latency and 0 downtime and 0 millisecond response times. It's like, okay, good, fast, and cheap. We pick 2. So
I got told.
What were you going to say? I interrupted you.
I got told some stories by Billy Bennett Octopus a bit longer about how when they joined basically the backlog was our user voice, and some
Yes.
features were built on their first day. And they're like, "Well, I'll pick the top item," and then it just never ever got
Yeah, and
fixed.
how'd that work out for you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Not well.
Awesome stuff. All right, so that wraps up the
All right.
week that was. From Jim and myself, happy deployments, everyone. Take care.